All right, my fellow agents, welcome back. It is I, X7, your master of monstrous musical mayhem today. It is Friday. That means it is a musical day. And we are not going to do the 7 songs. We will have 6 songs to choose from if I remember to put them on Spotify. But we are going to be talking about the 1967 Rankin Bass production called Mad Monster Party. Although if you don't see the question mark here, it's in the titles. But before we get too much further into that, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this movie. Do you like the replacement stop motion animation technique? They were everywhere in the 60s and clean into the 70s, well into the 70s, probably for a good 15 years and probably longer. But as you get older, you kind of lose track of holiday specials. Having said all that, let's roll. So we start right out here with Joseph E. Levine, and if you don't remember that name, well, he's the one who gave it. He was the one who brought the United States the Hercules movies, and he also brought us, of course, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Uh, this was produced by Arthur Rankin, but it must have been distributed by Joseph E. Levine. So this is obviously a horror comedy. I mean, there's some scary parts to it, but nothing super scary. It's definitely geared toward kids who've been watching Rankin Bass productions since, I don't know, 60, founded in 1960. Gee, many Christmas. It was started as Videocraft International because Tadahito Mochinaga was the headed up that. He was the Japanese stop motion animator. And I don't even know what their first output, 1961, The New Adventures of Pinocchio. Animagic, a stop motion. It's the same thing that Puppetoons were and kind of what Gumby was, but not quite. But they started making, anyway, we'll go into Rankin Bass at some point in time. So there they are. And we've got our first glimpse of mad scientist Boris von Frankenstein. Guess who he's played by? He looks just like him. This was one of his Boris Karloff's last projects and his lasting connection with the Frankenstein monster or creature, or his son, if you will. But he's invented a new potion, the secret of total destruction. That's just a drop there. There's his messengers. He's going to retire from the Worldwide Organization of Monsters, otherwise known as WOM. And there's Junior, as Bud would call him. And there's our title. See? Question mark. I don't know why. It's not like it was, the Blob or Equinox. And so, starring Frankenstein, that would be Boris von Frankenstein, as well as the monster, the werewolf, the mummy. Although, and these are all, you can see this Dracula, and the creature is, I don't know why they mistimed all this, because he's in Egypt. And it, dun dun dun, it is if you've seen the movie, and if you haven't, well, where have you been? It's and then Boris gets his own credit. Also, the other two stars. Well, there was one more as the monster's mate. Now, she's essentially playing herself or her character that she played on screen and on comedy. If you don't remember, Phyllis Diller was a huge name for several decades. I'm not sure who. There are 6 songs in here, and I'm not sure who Arthur or Ethel Ennis was. Let's see if I can. But she sang it. Most of these songs. Oh, yeah. So, and there's 5 ones directed by Jules Bass. The Bats are sending out. They're giving that whole prelude was them giving envelopes to everybody. And finally, we get to the only human there, who's Felix Flanken, or maybe Felix Flunken, because he doesn't want to be known as Frankenstein. But he also does, it's Alan Swift, and he does the voice of Felix Flanken as kind of a Jack Benny, several an homage to, or a melange of several voices. He does Count Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the werewolf. Well, he does everybody. He does everybody, even Yetch, who's, we'll talk about him in a moment. Gail Garnett, who is Francesca, and of course Phyllis Diller. This is classic Rankin Bass. This guy looks a lot like the Burgermeister Meisterburger from Here Comes Santa Claus, and Felix is kind of a schlep and can't see without his glasses on, and he's a pharmacist. There's the Castle at Night, which is in an island in the Caribbean somewhere. There's Francesca, a redhead. She's going to be nothing but trouble, right? Am I right? And there's Fang and his mate, Mrs. Fang, I guess. Does she even have a name? She's the bride, I suppose. The monster's mate's all she's called. So they're sending out more letters, and she wants to know what's going on. And there it is. I think that's just a drink. Caribbean Cruises, pay now, sail later. They're on the SS Herring as opposed to the Minnow. So or at least not the Caribbean Queen. That would be Billy Ocean, right? That would be his ride. So there is Dracula, the original Batman. Felix finally shows up, and the crew's got to be happy to see him. He thinks he runs into a dog. Can't see the Invisible Man either now. The Invisible Man is played as Sidney Greenstreet. You can hear it, the voice, an excellent mimicry of him. So, and of course he's naked. So it's a good thing he's constantly invisible. And then there's Dr. Jekyll, who has a vast amount of his potion in his cane, and that's where he drinks it from. Is that his umbrella or just his cane? Maybe both. But he's very erudite as Dr. Jekyll and very nonverbal as Hyde. They're playing hide and seek because all he says is hide, like he is Hyde. I am Hyde. I am Hyde. So Felix goes in. There we go. And he actually says the original Batman, which would have been a big thing at the time, 1967, of course. Werewolf can paddle. And there's Yetch. And he is Boris's flunky, and he sounds and looks a lot like Peter Lorre. And those are cadavers behind him, zombies or undead or something, that servants. Yetch is in love with Francesca, and she does not return his feelings. So she is brutal to him, but he's kind of a creep, but he's very funny. So the Baron has his own ancient squadron of airplanes. This will come in important. This is important later on if you haven't figured out what it is, and it's not a stupid clown that hides in a sewer. Baron has a little of the Phantom of the Opera in him as well, and now all the monsters are meeting. They don't all like each other, and Dracula is very ambitious. She's hitting him in the head, but it looks like she's about to punt him as well. Yetch gets beat up a lot, but deservedly so. There's our creature, who looks nothing like the creature, the one we've talked about already. But I like it. I mean, it's a nice design. I mean, he's very much more fish-like than he is reptilian. There's the cook. There's a song here about the food and what he's making, and Yetch is the one doing that. And he almost gets him, pinned to the wall with knives. Finally, at dinner, the Baron discusses what he's going to do. He's going to turn his empire over to one of them, and he hasn't mentioned who, and give them the secret of ultimate destruction. Now, Francesca, at the moment, still a villain, still a heel, and and then so are the other monsters. You can't. There's no honor among thieves. But Drax trying to play everyone so he can become the president of the world of monsters. League of Monsters. What the heck was that thing called? Worldwide Organization of Monsters. That's just long. Womb. And there's their crypt kickers, if you want to call them that. But they play a rock and roll number here as well. There's the mummy. We finally get a good look at him. And now Drax cozying up to Francesca. He wants to, have her over for a bite. But he's like, okay, we'll split it. They find out that the bride is listening. And of course, Frank's no match for Junior. And then we have a bit of a cat fight here. And that starts off a big old a food fight at the party because the Barons just left and said, "Good, take care of yourselves." So I think Yetch has lost his head. The vampire or the skeletons or the skeletones maybe. Everyone's asleep and hungover. When he snores, he exhales water. Hyde puts his in there in his umbrella in there and it comes out his ears. A clever gag. I mean, the effects in here, aside from the stop motion and the replacement animation, which is when you use different heads of the models, where they can gesture, is really well done. There's some really nice effects, just superimposed and animated. But there they are. The bride has a hangover and a block of ice on her head. So he's getting zapped there to wake up. And now Felix hasn't even shown up yet. He has no idea what's going on. He has no idea he's probably the heir apparent, and they all hate him and want him dead, and they're all a bunch of monsters. So Boris is happy to see his nephew or grandnephew or some such nonsense. But he immediately falls in the water because, again, Felix is a schmeal. But there they go on that boat, which is a cool looking boat. And she's plotting where to take him so that the Dracula can. They're going on a picnic, and Dracula is going to kill him, or the monsters are. So none of them work. He bandages up the mummy. He thinks that Drax the bat and sprays him with bug spray. And now they're cozying up, and I forget what she's got there. Drax misses and bites the tree. Do trees turn into vampire trees? I mean, there are carnivorous plants there. And now Boris is showing him the aircraft, which are still covered in cobwebs somehow, even though they just flew out. There's a giant frog. All right, Agent Frog. There's one for you, but he turns it into a big old bug, your favorite. And there is Audrey. So they could have actually, there's the fly. They could have the fly in here and Audrey. All kinds of extra monsters. And isn't that Kevin from Despicable Me? No, I know Despicable Me came a long time after it, and that's not a dog. But so we get another musical number, which just with insane. I think they were on something, but I think that's supposed to be a Martian, maybe. But Felix wants nothing to do with it. He's like, well, I don't know. So now they're all plotting again, and now they're turning against Francesca, who's just summoned it to come to the party. And he can't, he's all, I don't know what to do. So, see, they're like, okay, Red, you're out. And she's smart enough to at least have a torch because, the monsters probably hold a vampire at bay for a while. And down she goes. She escapes, ends up in the drink. Crocodiles go after her, but Felix saves her and they kiss. And there is her face turn. The love of a good man can turn a redhead. I can't even finish that. But look at that. So now they're in love, and she sings a song, yet another song. There's 6 songs, as I said. Not 7, 6. So now all the monsters say, we got to get him so that he can have our power. But, the power of love is making flower, even the Audrey is having flowers pop out of its tongue. There are some very clever lines in here, and he's like, you weigh a lot more than you look. There's a hint at her true identity. So, and there's Yetch again. They're trying to kill him, and suddenly And I don't know if oh no, that's just from what we saw he was carrying in the first part of the movie. That's just his apothecary. But suddenly it shows up, and it is, of course, King Kong, or at least Kong. And there's some really nice shots, model shots here. Of course, he falls in love with Francesca. Dang, redheads. Even giant apes can't stay away from him. She's not even blonde. And Yetch gets launched into the stratosphere. We don't ever see him again, so, I mean... And, of course, we got to do the whole King Kong thing. And Felix finally decides, well, I don't know what to do to rescue her, but the Baron shows up, Baron Boris, and he's got the surviving monsters, or it does, and Francesca. So the Baron leads his troops into battle, a la King Kong, which is a nice homage. The whole movie is an homage to Universal movies, essentially. And because it's not bloody. It's funny. It's well written. The music's great. Music was done by Maury Laws and Jules Bass. So I think Maury Laws is one of their longtime composers. So really nice stop motion here. And of course he sets her down, which he should never do, because as soon as the giant ape sets the beautiful woman down, the end is nigh, isn't it? Felix takes the boat to rescue her. The Boris says, nope, this is my mistake. I'm going to make up for it. There will be no more Worldwide League of Monsters. No more womb. He pulls it. They're all, no, kaboom. That's the Hunchback in there, too. We haven't even talked about him. That's a lot of monsters. This is truly the Destroy All Monsters, which would be released a year later of Rankin Bass Creations, who also did a King Kong cartoon. There's the kaboom, and there's a little stock footage. And he says, well, let's go home and get married. And she says, well, there's one thing I have to tell you. She's an android. He says, well, essentially, nobody's perfect. So right out of Some Like It Hot, which is where I think the character is mainly drawn from. And that's it. That's where the movie ends. It's so much fun. This copy came from the Internet Archive, and I liked it so much that I get this like the third time I've watched it. I bought the Blu-ray. So it's probably a better picture, slightly better. This is a good looking picture. And my fellow agents, that is our 6-song Friday. Our movie tomorrow is Sakuya, Slayer of Demons, Sakya. And the picture's not nearly as good. I'm sorry about that. I'll explain why later. Tomorrow. And so until tomorrow, on Shaolin Saturday or Martial Arts Matinee Saturday, doesn't really have a ring to it. This is X7 signing off and phasing out.
Challenged by furious forces of nature that defy explanation. A forgotten world of dark jungles, barren deserts, Stone Age mountains, and the Valley of the Dragon, alive with primordial animals. The menace of cavemen, gorilla people, underground demons.
What kind of a nightmare world is this?
The world of the past. 100,000 years past.
The Valley of the Dragons, where beast attacks beast, man fights man, and both battle each other. Prehistoric monsters out of the past bring new thrills in the Valley of the Dragons.